Hey there, board gamers. I'm Walker with Diceratops Games, an independent board game publisher looking for new playtesters. We want fresh eyes and fresh takes to help our network of solo designers refine their latest projects. No applications necessary. Come join our community as you please. Just search for Diceratops Games, like dice plus triceratops, Diceratops, or visit our link tree at linktr.ee/Diceratops Games.
Hey y'all, it's time for Rolling Dice and Taking Names. This episode is loaded with hot new games, including Ethnos 2nd Edition, Fellowship of the Ring's trick-taking game, Mezen, Prey, and Metal Gear Solid. Plus, Marty tries to recreate the classic school rectangle pizza. I wanted the grilled cheese, but he went with pizza.
Hello and welcome to Rolling Dice and Taking Names. This is episode number 341, Mirror Mirror. My name is Marty.
I'm Tony.
I have not heard of this. Tony, you say this is from the Osmonds, and
Yes.
you were clicking it away saying somebody passed away recently. Please don't tell me Donnie or Marie passed away recently.
No, Donnie and Marie. Which Osmond brother? One of the.
There's 12 of them. I don't know.
I know that when you think back to the Osmonds, and they're like the original boy band.
Yes. I mean, but them and the Jackson 5, right? I mean, so both brother acts, very popular. They weren't a boy band per se, just putting a bunch of people together and making, a bunch of records. They were family at least. But yes, 100%. That was definitely one of the original big boy bands. And then Marie came in later on. And did you watch the Donnie and Marie variety show?
Absolutely. Who didn't back then? This is before, this is when TVs had these metal things sticking out the back and you had to adjust them and all. Yeah, I watched that.
Did you see the episode when they had Star Wars characters on there? And Marie dressed up like Princess Leia.
Probably. I just don't remember. It's been forever. I'm going to have to YouTube that one.
I could be wrong, but I think somebody was like Chris Christopherson played Han Solo and they did a duet together.
So Wayne Osmond is the one who passed away recently. He was 73, and Wayne, all the Osmonds, Donnie, Wayne, I just looked it up today and I can't think of all the brothers that were in the original. And Merrill, Allen, they were all prolific writers. And so I don't know if he wrote Mirror, Mirror, but that was on one of their bigger albums called The Plan. And before there was Donnie and Marie's show, you had the Osmonds.
The only Osmond song right off the top of my head I can even think of is Rolling on the River. Oh my gosh. Rocking down the popular.
It's very popular that you cannot remember.
Well, I mean, dude, it's been decades. Osmond brother songs.
Exactly.
Because my uncle had it on 45. Down by the lazy river.
Down by the lazy river. Okay.
Down by the lazy river. Only reason because my uncle had it on 45. So let me ask you, and I'll admit to this, I had a crush on Marie.
Well, wasn't she around? You did? Okay.
I had a boyhood crush on Marie Osmond. Yes, I did.
But wasn't there the Charlie Angels out about the same time?
Okay. This is a good discussion. Of the three original Charlie's Angels, which one was your crush?
Jacqueline Smith.
Amen. That is the correct answer, sir. And Jacqueline Smith still looks good today.
Oh, I have not looked for her on any of the Hallmark movies. Is she? She may be on them.
No, she's not. She's not. Okay. But yes, it was funny. Everybody was gaga over Jacqueline. I was the.
You mean Farrah?
Yeah. Everybody's gaga over the fair, and I get that. The poster, I get the poster and everything. The famous bathing suit poster.
Had it.
Did you really?
Oh yeah. Who didn't?
So do you remember the thing with the poster where supposedly the curls in her hair spelt sex?
No.
It was one of these wild myths that was out there about her curls spelling sex.
I don't follow conspiracy theories now. I surely did not follow them in the 70s and 80s. There's no way.
But yes, very much is like in Gilligan's Island. I am a Mary Ann person. I'm the girl next door. That's where the Jacqueline Smith comes into, the girl next door. Plus, I'll have a thing for brunettes.
Yes. So so we have taken you to the 70s childhood here. A lot of things were going on, and oh my heavens.
So for those from that age, come to our Discord channel. Who is your favorite angel? And it could be any of them, because I know they rotated through a lot of them over the years.
Yeah, I don't remember all the ones.
Cheryl Ladd came after
Farrah Fawcett left.
Yep.
Cheryl, wow. We're not even talking about the recent angels. We're talking old school angels, because that's the only people who listen to us. Those are the only people who listen to us, the old people.
There's no such thing as the recent angels.
Are there any Charlie Angels reruns on? I'm sure you could probably pick it up on some of the over-the-air stations.
I don't know. But I remember as a young little boy, I thought I was doing something bad watching Charlie's Angels.
The first Baywatch.
Hell, Baywatch. Oh my gosh. That's the Hasselhoff. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, all that TV back then, Knight Rider, Hasselhoff, Charlie's Angels, Fantasy Island, all of it. I know they may all not be in the same time, but that was our Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom, which is coming back.
Really?
Yeah, I just saw an ad for it today that it'll be coming back, I think, on Sunday mornings.
Oh my gosh. See if you can pull this one out. Who was the host, the famous host? Wow. Well done. I can't remember his first name, though.
Wasn't it Merle? Perkins? Earl? No, Merle? No.
That's good, though. Perkins, I think, is pretty much spot on.
I think that was it.
Omaha Wild Kingdom Perkins.
He was the young one.
Marlon Perkins. Dude, that was close. Marlon Perkins. From 63 to 85.
Wow. That was a good show. I love that show.
I watched it. Mutual Omaha's Wild King. That was before
computers.
Yeah, computers. The Down Under, Steve. Oh my gosh, the TV show, the Australian Steve.
Crikey.
Yeah, his name just left me.
Yes.
I'm pulling out Cheryl Ladd and all this stuff. Steve, not Earl.
Irwin.
Steve Irwin, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, and another death that really hit me today, and then we'll get off to the more happy subjects, board games, which we promised people we would do more of in 2025. Yeah, right. I heard your intro. But Ripken passed away today. Not the baseball player Ripken.
Oh.
I think for those of you who did not see the look on Marty's face, he was like, what?
I about freaked out because I thought Kyle Ripken Jr. passed away. Because before we got on, we just mentioned Ricky Henderson. Mm-hmm. So baseball was in my mind.
Yes. No.
Okay.
Ripken,
so it's not Kyle. So which Ripken?
It's Ripken, the NC State dog that would go fetch the tea.
Oh, yes. I heard about this. Was this expected? Was he old?
Mm-mm. No, it was unforeseen medical conditions. They didn't realize it. And he unfortunately, he was at NC State, top leading vet school in the country, but still he passed away. And I sat here and went down the rabbit hole and watched a bunch of the videos of him going after the tea and the Ripken cam. It's just hilarious. I mean, watching that dog.
So that's so funny you say that, because I saw that mentioned the other day that he had passed away, but I never saw why. And everybody was obviously really upset. For NC State, y'all, is where we went to college. That's when we're talking about it. But it's like just a couple weeks ago, I saw a clip, of him going out and getting the tea on the last game of the season and stuff. So yeah, for those especially not in the country, some schools, some teams have dogs that are trained that after the ball is kicked, they'll run onto the field and pick up the plastic tea off the field and bring it back.
My favorite part is them trying to get it from his mouth. Out. And I'm like, that's a dog for you. He ain't giving that up.
Well, that is sad, because actually it was sad a few years ago when Tuffy passed away, which is our mascot. We're on like Tuffy 3. I can't remember, but he passed away a few years ago too. Right. I've always wanted one of those types of dogs.
You did? Well, get you one.
They're super expensive. These dogs, y'all, so our team name is Wolfpack. So they have these dogs, starts with an M, and I can't think of the name of it. They look like wolves. I can't think of what the name of it is. It's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, I've always wanted to have one of those.
I've always wanted a dire wolf, but that's not happening.
Dire wolf. I think you had to go through some sort of ritual or something like that to get one of those.
Hey, they found them out in the woods during Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Can you believe that? What was it? I saw Game of Thrones it has been a minute since that last one aired. I think has it been 10 years? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Wow.
Yes.
I just cannot believe that. That is unreal. But hey, let's get to the show and talk about something that's important to the show. So when you and I were in school in our 70s and 80s, on Friday, there was always a special treat. You never brought your lunch on Friday to school. In elementary, middle school, even high school.
I was wrong. It's a Tamascan dog. Doesn't start with an M. It's Tamascan. Okay. Sorry.
Tamascan.
Go ahead.
So, and why would you always not take your lunch to school on Fridays at school in Charlotte, North Carolina at CMS or Union County where Marty was? That's because it was known as Pizza Day. Mm-hmm. And you would always get square pizza. Now,
rectangle.
You, sir.
Rectangle.
Thank you.
The rectangle pizza.
Hey, we were cheated in CMS. No, they were rectangle.
Yeah.
And you'd get pizza and corn. I don't know why, but it was always pizza and corn.
We got pizza and tots or pizza and fries.
Man, Charlotte Mecklenburg gypped us. But you,
the
sir,
real healthy stuff. Yes.
You, sir, found a recipe for this. Tell me about it.
Okay, so there's a YouTube channel called Tasting History. People on the channel found an 80s recipe for school cafeteria pizza. I got the recipe, went out and bought all the stuff. You make the dough and everything, but what's different about this dough is you've done bread before. You got to wait for it to rise and all that. That's not the case with this. It's a batter dough, and I'm putting quotes around it, so you can almost pour it. So literally it only takes, once you put the yeast in, you mix it for like 10 minutes, and it's ready to go at that point. Wow. You almost pour it out onto the tray. Makes sense. They don't have time to let the dough rise. Number two, I thought these were frozen pizzas. I didn't realize they made these.
Yeah,
I thought this was something that was brought in. Yeah.
Yeah. No clue.
So I tried it, and basically they give you the recipe for making the sauce. So I made homemade sauce with the tomato paste and all the seasonings and everything. There was one seasoning I could not find. Have you heard of something called like margarone?
No. That's not my local Harris Teeter grocery store.
Marjoram. Marjoram.
No. Is that like Vegemite sandwich or Vegemite? No, I don't know.
No, it's some sort of seasoning. It was not at my Harris Teeter either. It's supposedly it's kind of like oregano, has kind of oregano taste to it. I had never heard of this. So I couldn't find that. So that's not in this recipe, but it includes like basil, oregano, thyme, and mozzarella cheese. So I threw all this together, made it, and I will say it was a successful recipe. Yes, it did remind me of the pizza from school, but it's because of the crust. It's the consistency of the crust. It's not crunchy. It's more doughy and chewy. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what this is. So with this crust, you're not going to get a crunchy crust like you would on some pizzas, and it didn't really brown a lot either. So the memories come from that type of crust. I don't think I got exactly the sauce right because that didn't remind me of the correct sauce. But hey, I gave it a shot. Vanessa tried it. She said, it's all right. I don't know that I'd ever make it again, but it was fun making it.
No, it had to be fun. I mean, other than that, next thing you'll be doing some fish sticks. Yeah, you'd be doing some fish sticks. But then it became fish.
What I didn't like was ambrosia. We always got ambrosia, whatever that was.
I don't even know.
It had a lot of little pieces of fruit and coconut in it. I don't know.
I only got, in all seriousness, I only would buy lunch on pizza day. The rest of the days, I took my lunch every day. Oh, yeah.
I never took my lunch. I always ate there. And then somebody in our Discord brought up, and I totally forgot about this, the Mexican pizza, which was octagon shaped. Do you remember those or hexagon shaped?
Never saw them.
They had a special seasoning on those. Those were different.
Yeah, I never saw that. Never got the hamburgers or whatever they would serve. It was always go in, sit down, open the lunchbox, pull out the ham sandwich, potato chips, some vegetable, And then, of course, my little thermos with my drink in it, whatever that was at the time.
What kind of thermos box did you take? What was on your lunchbox? Did you have
It was superheroes. I don't remember which ones.
Do you remember the thermoses from those? So we're talking about the aluminum lunchboxes where the thermoses actually had glass in them. If you dropped the thermos, they would shatter. Yeah.
Did it. I unscrewed the bottom. Woo! Boom!
How did we survive the 70s and 80s? Because nothing like that would be allowed now. I mean, in our playgrounds, we had the merry-go-rounds where you could just go as fast as you could and just let go and fly across the schoolyard. I mean, none of that stuff existed. Slides don't even hardly exist anymore.
We had old concrete tubes for water supplies.
We did too.
Where people, and my mom was a teacher, and this really did happen. A kid ran through there and scraped his head. And it was nasty, she said, but we all survived that. And who knows how many animals had gone inside those tubes. We were lucky to survive. I mean, we played with toys like Stretch Armstrong that leaked and if you licked it, you died or something. I don't know if Stretch Armstrong did that.
At our elementary school, our playground had old truck tires that were just loose, that we would get inside of them, go to the top of the hill and get us and roll all the way down the hill. Could you imagine even us today as parents if we saw that and we'd freak out? And back then it was like, okay, it's just kids being kids.
We could bounce back. Or we had trampolines in gym. Everybody gets to bounce on the trampoline, and the kids would surround. That was your safety net. Like if Johnny came bouncing at me when I was young, I was going to catch him, I was going to get out of the way. And the springs would catch our fingers. Oh, come on, please toughen up.
This is why Gen X is so tough and why we don't give a crap about really anything.
We survived it. I had my latch key around my neck, go home when I was in second grade, open my door.
That's right.
I had to wait for my sister before I could eat anything so I wouldn't set the house on fire. I know how this went. My gosh. Speaking of setting the house on fire.
Oh, okay.
Risk AD 2210 over in Discord. They said this is the Risk that burned the rest of them down.
So why were you looking for Risk in the first place?
Because my son-in-law loves Risk, and it has been a challenge for me to find a game that he really latches into, that he enjoys, and he said he loved Risk. So I went over to our Discord channel and said, what's the best Risk? And you and your infinite wisdom said, well, this is what they say on Reddit. I'm like, I'm asking the peeps here. I'm asking the real knowledgeable people. And Risk AD 2210, which was a reimplementation of Risk by our good buddy Rob Davia. Have you ever played Risk AD 2210?
I have not, but I'm very interested to see what you say, see if it's something I would like.
Well, first off, there's a countdown. There are rounds. There are 5 rounds.
Perfect. I already like this already.
Okay. You have commanders which have powers that allow you to either go into the water. You have a naval commander that lets you conquer various naval places or sea spaces. You have a land commander. You have a diplomat. You have space stations because you have a lunar commander. So you have the moon. And then my favorite one is your nuclear commander, who, when you play his cards, you don't know what's going to happen. It might be blow up everybody. It might blow up you. You just don't know. So these commanders give you the ability to have special cards to play on your turn. You're not only getting troops or mods, you're also getting energy, which allows you to buy additional one commander or buy their cards and be able to play their cards. And these cards give you how you would attack in Risk and it would just be dice roll, right?
Yes.
So one of my favorite cards was Stealth Mod, which means someone would come in and attack me, and if I had the stealth card, I would play it as long as that commander was still on the board. I could suddenly, boom, here came 3 mods. So it kind of shifted things. But the basic Risk is still there. You can still play classic Risk where you're just rolling, but the commanders also let you roll D8s, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, D8s.
As opposed to D6s.
Yes.
Okay.
And your space bases defend the whole territory. And also another thing is at the start of the game, you eliminate 4 lands randomly, and therefore that puts those out of play because they've been nuclear annihilated, and therefore it may hamper some of the movement, and therefore you are forced to find other ways to get to one another. All in all, it came down to basically who at the end was able to spread out quickly and the better dice rolls. I mean, if I would play it again, it did take a while, but I would definitely play it again because now I understand how the commanders and their cards work and see how all that came up. So definitely a better Risk.
Do the cards help mitigate bad dice rolls? Because that was always my issue with Risk. Okay.
No, they just give you special surprises, or at least some of the cards I saw. Other than that, I did not see where, add a dice or anything like that.
Okay, cool.
So I was kind of pleased with it. He was very pleased with it. Very happy that we played it. I watched a bunch of videos on how to play it. These videos are very old, so some of them need to be updated. But of course, BGG came through and had a very helpful player aid. So that helped us get through all of it. And so it was me, him, my daughter, and of course, Donna. We all played this, and we played it over a couple days because we would break it up. And that was a good thing. But my daughter took a picture of the board so that he couldn't cheat. Not that he would. But we were just having fun with it. But he did win.
That was the whole episode of Seinfeld, where basically Newman and Kramer were playing Risk, and they had to leave the board at Jerry's to make sure nobody would cheat.
Wow.
Anyway, everything relates to Seinfeld. Over Christmas break, I didn't play anything nearly as heavy as that. And my family's not into that at all. So I got my Vanessa and my sister, her husband, and their kids, and we played Flip 7. Now, we've talked about this game before. I wanted to try it out because I heard it was a good game for family because you could basically teach as you play. And I will say it went over really well. For those who didn't hear our review of it, this is basically a deck of cards ranging from values of 1 to 12. Like there's 12 12s, 11 11s, etc., all the way down to 1 1 and 1 0. And on your turn, you're going to have a card that's in front of you, and the dealer's going to come to you and say, hit or stay. As long as you don't get duplicate copies of numbers, you're good and you can keep on playing. Or at any time, you could just say, stay, hold, and you'll take the value of cards if you accumulated, and your goal is to get 200 points. Very simple. You teach it in 30 seconds. So literally, everybody has a card. Vanessa, I'm going to deal you a card. As long as it doesn't match that card, you're not out of the round. She said, well, hit me. Boom. And we just keep going around. Now, there are special cards in the deck, like here, somebody's got to draw 3 or 4 cards on their next turn, or somebody's frozen, they can't take any more cards, etc. Like that. As those pop up, you teach it, and people had a blast. It is a great push your luck game. And the whole concept is, hey, if you can actually get 7 cards out that don't match, you immediately stop the round, you get a bonus 15 points, which is huge. There are some cards that are multipliers, and those actually came into play. I remember when we played, Tony, you were like way behind, and you got like the ×2 and came roaring back. And that's exactly what happened in this game. The person in last place got the ×2, a lot of high value cards, and boom, came roaring back. So Flip 7 really went over well with the family, and that little tiny box is just one of those I will definitely keep on the shelf and pull out anytime. And it's one of those things that, again, if somebody says, I don't remember how this works, within 30 seconds, I can teach it and we're on our way.
Oh, yeah. Straight, easy game. I didn't get that one out. It was in the bag for when we went over and did the New Year's games to get that on the table and play. But, yeah, I didn't get that one out. Got some other ones out. Also, let's see what else. We played Sagrada, of course, over the holiday break because my mother-in-law loves Sagrada, and that became a cooperative game. My daughter sat over there and basically helped her do her board. I'm like, would you please stop? Because this is taking forever and you're helping her win. And meanwhile, that was the lowest score ever. I blew every one of my opportunities to score. It was not a good round. I tell you, Sagrada with 5 or 6, that's kind of rough. I like it better with 4 or 3, but you know, if I can play it. I've got the expansion for 5 and 6, but this one, I think I need to eventually add in the other expansions to that will give you the more advantage when you have that number of people, but I have not done that yet. But the newest one that we put on the table is a throwback, but it's the newest version of it, Catan New Energies.
Oh, very interested in this. So there's been a lot of flavor of Catan over the years. Sometimes it's just kind of a repasted theme, or there's been a lot of expansions to it and stuff. So, Catan New Energies is a standalone game, right?
Yes, it is a complete standalone game. However, it's got the flavor of Catan. What you want to do, if you know how to play Catan, then you know how to play this game, except for the few various changes they made, which, in my opinion, make it way better. Just like you said, if you're going to play Catan, you need to play, Cities and Nights? Is that the correct?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, if I'm going to play a base Catan, then I'm going to say, no, I'm going to hold off on Catan. I know this is blasphemy, but I would pull out New Energies. But the whole
Interesting.
Yes, the whole premise behind New Energies is that you have your own player board, along with the along with the Isle of Catan. All right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Same premise. You're putting out towns and cities, and you've got your longest road that can happen in this thing. However, your player board has power plants on them. So that, of course, being a power guy, works for the industry, I was like, well, I've got to try this out. So how does it do that? You have fossil fuels and renewables. One of the new things is you have science tokens that will allow you to build a fossil plant or a renewable energy. What do you do with those?
Let me guess. There's some sort of negative impact if you build a fossil fuel plant.
Well, there's also a negative impact if you build a city or a town.
Okay.
You have environmental footprint. Okay.
Okay.
If you build renewable, that decreases your footprint. So to win, you still got to get to 10 victory points. But there is another way to win this game. But you do have an environmental footprint. Let me get there. Hold that thought. Environmental footprint. These plants, when the die is rolled, they produce energy. Imagine this. On a town, you may have one plant. On a city, you may have 3 plants. And when you do, they're going to produce energy in that production spot along with whatever's being produced. By the way, there are no more sheep, wool, or thread. So you cannot have wood for sheep. Everybody loves the joke.
Wait a minute. Which is gone? Wood's gone?
Sheep are gone.
Well, I mean, wool is sheep.
But everybody says, I'll trade wood for sheep. We all know the joke. But now it's, I'll trade wood for thread. That's what they've changed that.
What about the others? Ore, brick?
Yeah, brick is still there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all there, but it was just fun. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. So yes, the environmental footprint, where does that come into play? Before you take your turn, you pull from a bag a little token and you place it around the Isle of Catan. And when you fill up a certain section, an event occurs.
Okay.
And the person with maybe the highest environmental footprint, which is bad, may have to get rid of some resources. Or the person with the lowest environmental footprint may gain resources. There's various things that happen. It's all detailed there in the book. But to me, I like that. When that bag runs out, the game ends. You can add more tokens to it by building renewable plants because those go in, and renewable plants tokens are beneficial, very beneficial. But let's say all the tokens come out, the game ends right then. And by the way, the person with the lowest environmental footprint wins the game, regardless if no one made it to 10 victory points.
So let me get this straight. So if you win, even if you have the largest footprint, if you get 10 points and you have the largest footprint, you still win?
Lowest environmental footprint, you win. If
you don't get earlier, it was 10 points to win.
You can either have the standard 10 points, or if the bag gets empty, then it's the person with the lowest environmental footprint. And if everybody has the same environmental footprint, guess what?
It's a tie.
We all lose.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I like a clock. Built-in clock is cool.
I like a clock. I like new types of development cars. I do like this, ability of a new type of resource with the energy. I thought that was kind of very interesting. And I also like the fact that you can turn in those energies to get resources. 2 biggest problems with Catan for me has always been no one wanting to trade.
Sure. Yep.
And the second, crappy dice rolls, which bit my daughter in the butt when she played it. She really dislikes Catan because every time she's played, she's never gotten the resources she needs. And she gets so far behind everybody else.
Is there still a robber?
We called him the EPA. That's not what he's called in the game.
Nice.
Thank you. We called him EPA, and he would go out and, of course, take from the various places. There's also things called hazards, which are basically robbers. They don't steal, but if a hazard occurs on your city or on a production zone, then that does not produce during a turn. So it's another way to limit resources.
How long does the game take?
Good Catan players, probably about 2 hours.
Still a lengthy game.
It's still
even
a
with
lengthy
the clock.
Game. Even with a clock, I think. And, you're not giving up all of the Catan, but you are. I mean, the clock is running, but there is I think it's over 40 plus tokens in that bag. And if you got 4 people, that's 10 rounds. So,
yep.
And I think it can get up to close to 56 tokens in a bag at any given time total.
Gotcha.
The tokens, by the way, when one of the effects is full, those tokens do not get put back in the bag; they are discarded. So you're always pulling out of that bag. Oh, and if the environmental footprint for the entire island of Catan, if it continues to grow and grow and grow, then you are pulling on your turn additional tokens. So the higher it goes, the more tokens you will be pulling. You start with 1, then you'll go to 2, and then if you're really contaminating Catan, it'll go to 3, and that really speeds up the game. So one of the things you can do is, if you're causing the environmental footprint to grow, you're going to lose the game. So there's that balance. You kind of want to try to keep it at just 1. So that was another nice twist to the game. Hey, we'll play it one time.
Okay. All right. So Catan New Energies, that is out now. So it's a recent game.
Been out
last year.
Yeah, been out for a while. It's been sold out for a while.
Okay. Yeah. So we just finally got a copy from Asmodee to try out. Because we had, I think you've had it on the list from a request to try it out for quite a while. So it just came through. So there you go. So it's not an exact duplicate of Catan. So it's something fresh and new and different.
And one of the things, I almost created a complete rift in the family, and you and I talked about this. My son-in-law argued over, can the robber go back into the desert? Definitely in this game you can, because it says place the robber on a hex. I have not gone back and looked at the original Catan rules to see if it has to go on a production hex.
It seems like rules lawyer would pretty see it says it in a hex. It doesn't say in a hex except or non-desert hex. So
exactly. Just said, you can place them on a hex. I said, okay.
Well, so again, while you're playing these a lot heavier 2-hour games, on my Christmas day, I brought out Cabanga, which you brought back to me from
Played that too
Spain.
over Christmas, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. It's such a good game.
It is. And again, it's one of those, I was teaching brand new players this game. I think it's a really clever card shedding game. You have 4 different colors. And at the beginning of the game, you seed the table with values. And on your turn, you're basically going to discard one of your 4 colored cards that you have in your hand. You're dealt at the beginning of the game. On either the left or side of that color card in the middle of the table. And there might be a gap between the number that's on the left and right side of that card. So if there is a 6 there and I put a 9 on the other side, there's a gap of 7 and 8. Anybody that's sitting at the table that has that same color, let's say it's blue, has the blue 7 or 8, goes Cabanga. They discard those cards, and I draw 2 cards, or basically a card for everyone that was Cabanga during that round. And basically keep going until somebody runs out of cards. Super simple, super straightforward, and again, my family really enjoyed that too.
Oh, it's a fun game. I mean, it's like you said, straightforward, easy to teach, and there's more strategy than people realize when they're playing it. So your family's probably just having a big time, but they're like, oh, wait.
They started realizing it's like, oh, I kind of just need to analyze. And I said, if y'all are good at it, there is card counting. You can keep track of cards that's been played, which can be really important. And I was like, well, I can't remember cards. And it's like, well, that's true. But I said, if you just kind of look at your hand and realize, I'm getting ready to generate a gap here, but I know that the cards that will be in this gap I'm getting ready to generate were pulled out earlier. If you can remember stuff like that, it does help.
Yeah. And sometimes you may be like, oh man, I've got both spectrums of this based on how these cards are scored. I tell you what, why don't I just go ahead and take a big old Cabanga and I'll be able to recover from it sooner than later. and this way I can be on the father, not on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this game is now out in English. You got for me before it came over. It came out last year. It's available at Miniature Market for $12.99, but it is out of stock right now. So I'm sure that was like a hot holiday game. But again, one of those super cheap games that you can just kind of throw in your bag, like along with Flip 7.
There you go. All right. Well, that was a lot of stuff. Is it time to keep rolling dice, or do we still keep going?
No, we still got to keep taking some board game reviews, and we got several hot games to talk about in this episode. Hey, Tony, did you know that PortalCon's coming pretty soon, where Ignacio's going to announce some new games for this coming year?
Hey, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see him in person. I keep waiting for my airline ticket to show up from Portal.
Yeah, when do we get to go to that show? Why doesn't you ever invite us to come over there for that?
Probably because we wouldn't understand a lot of the language that's going on, and it would be kind of difficult for us. We would need subtitles. Maybe Mary could stand between us and say things for us. I don't know.
I can just see some nice pictures. Pictures would be nice.
I mean, it's cold here. Can you imagine how cold it is in Poland right now? But I am excited to see what he's got planned for 2025. I know Ignacio's got something up his sleeve.
If you missed the games from 2024, his hottest game, I think by far, Tony, was AI Space Puzzle, a real hit. A co-op game that was extremely popular coming out at Gen Con. A lot of people have played this game and they love playing it in groups. It is a solid co-op puzzle game that's out there that's easy to learn, and it's one of those things that has scenarios that you can play through and get more difficult over time. He's got Thorgol out now, which is based on graphic novels. I'm going to call it graphic novels. How about that? Instead of comic books. Is that all right? Based on a series of graphic novels that was over in Poland. That's out. And, of course, you have the Robinson Crusoe CE edition. Game has been around for, good gosh, over a decade now, hasn't it, Tony? The game's been around for a while. Still a hot game. Love that game. Any game that will just bring back memories of defeat and despair. You got to love those types of games. Plus, Resurgence that we talked about pretty recently here. That is now available. So if you miss those 2024 games, make sure to go pick those up. Oh, and also that expansion to Imperial Miners, which we enjoy too, as we start salivating over what he's got coming in 2025. And Tony, I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true. Last year he said that he may make an appearance at Gen Con this year, maybe to sell some of those new games. Holding my breath for that. We'll see what he does. Well, I hope so. But to hear about and see about all these games, head over to shopportalgames.com and make sure to sign up for that weekly newsletter.
Five-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1. One
game I got to see at Gen Con over at the Arcane Wonders booth was a game called Mezen. This is from designer Nikita Sorokin. And Tony, when I first saw this, the way it plays, it's almost like Candy Crush on the table with the way these tiles work. You got this 5x5 grid in front of you that's going to kind of be manipulated over time. Everybody's going to get a set of tiles, and there's 5 different animals, and you're going to create a 5x5 random grid in front of you. And on a player's turn, they're going to name one of those animals. Everybody sitting around the table is going to take a group of animals from their player board in any group, however they like. They just must be orthogonal to each other. They take all those animals out of their grid. All the tiles that were above those tiles that were removed will slide down towards the bottom. The tiles that were removed are flipped over. See, these tiles have 2 sides, a light side and a dark side. They don't have the same animal on each side. There's a different animal that's on the other side of this tile. And then they put those tiles back anywhere they want into the gaps that were left in the grid after the tiles were slid. Well, Marty, why are you doing this? Well, that's because this game is played over 10 rounds. And each round there is a scoring card that's going to give you points based on how your grid is after you take your turn. So say, for example, it said, hey, if you have a fox and a fish beside each other anywhere in your grid orthogonally, you're going to get 2 points. Or if you have a row in your grid, you're going to get an X number of points for every of the same type of animal that's in that grid. Or, hey, if you have horses in the corners of your grid, you're going to get points. So you're trying to call out an animal to shift the grid to get them into position in order to score points. And Tony, that's really basically it. But there's a lot of thinking that's behind this game of like, what animal do I want to call and which ones do I want to pull off the board, and how do I handle it when somebody else calls an animal that I don't want to have to remove from my board?
Exactly. So, I mean, one of the big things here is, I will say there is some luck to this game. And based on how when the first random chips come up and the scoring cards. Now, you mentioned the scoring cards, and a person can only see the scoring card that is current round and the next round. The rest of them are hidden. So do not be like me and look at the next scoring card and set your board up for that and forget about the one you're actually scoring for in that round. That is detriment to your actually getting a good score. Now, there are amulets in the game. You get 5 of them at the start, and these amulets can help you break up sets. They can help you break up groups so that if Marty were to call foxes, and I've got 6 foxes that are in a group, but I don't want to break them up because I see where the scoring is going to be beneficial, I may place an amulet on one of the foxes, and that breaks the group.
You do want to break them up.
I do want to break the group.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You do want to break it up. Or better yet, let's say I've got foxes that are out there that are not completely grouped. Let's say I got 2 over here and there's a tile between a group of 3. I can now bridge those group and I can pull those off as well.
Yeah, you put an amulet on the tile that you want to bridge,
right?
And you treat it as like the fox or whatever. So that gives you some manipulation of creating a splitting groups. But Tony, I can also, let's say you call out the fox, but I don't want to do a fox, I can give you one of my amulets and pick a different animal.
Yes. And then that lets you go where, because maybe me calling out the fox or the chicken really messes up your board. And that's part of the game. You need to be looking at the other player's board to say, hey, maybe I can call out something that can impact them, maybe not help me scoring, but that will mess them up in the future. Now, I will also say that on the dark side, there are spruce trees. These trees are wild, and they count as part of a group if you were to call it, and they also get removed out. So, for instance, if I have a couple spruce trees next to foxes, and I call foxes, then both the spruce trees and the foxes are all part of that group and must be removed and everything be shifted. Game plays very quickly, and sometimes you can, in the games that I played with you, in the games I played with Donna, both of you got a runaway combo that there was just ridiculous and there was no coming back. So that is one of my negatives to this. If someone just happens to be lucky enough to get, be able to get a huge combo of fish and fox or horse and hedgehog, then they're going to score a lot of points. Now, at the end of round 5 and round 10, you go at the end of round 5, you'll count up how many black tiles you have shown. At the end of 5, at the end of 10, you will count up the number of white tokens that are shown, and those will also be added to your score at this time. Highest score is whoever has the highest points is the winner. Reset, go again if you want to. Luckily, the scoring cards have symbols on the bottom of them. You pick one of the symbols, you draw from those symbols, you take 10 out of the 12. That's your scoring round. And I did find that in the scoring round, Marty, that if you get a spruce as one of the first ones, kind of is detrimental, but it was also very strategic because you say, hey, maybe I want to pull that spruce out. We were confused on a couple of the scoring ones, and those are ones I'm going to have to keep looking on because the rule book wasn't that clear on scoring on a certain set, but that's all right. But other than that, Donna loved it. Donna loved it. She did not have AP with it.
Good. Well, it's also one of those things that plays up to 5 players, so everybody's active the entire turn. Somebody's calling an animal, but everybody's doing something on that turn, which I like. So you're totally engaged for the entire 30 minutes that you play this game because it is a quick game. Like I said, setup is really nothing. You just kind of shuffle all the tiles together, then form the 5x5, deal out 10 cards, and then you're ready to go. So it is a really good filler. It does have the little Candy Crush type feel to it. If you're really good at memory, you can try to memorize what's on the tiles that you just flipped over, so that when you flip them back, what Tony's shaking his head is too much.
No way. There's no freaking way.
Somebody can, I'm sure. Somebody can maybe look ahead and go, okay, I know when I flip this fox, what's on the other side is the fish. And I'll remember later on because I'm going to need the fox back and I want to call fish to flip it back over. Somebody's probably out there playing at that level game, but we weren't. This is just a good, fun filler game. I enjoyed it. It's Mezen from Arcane Wonders. Again, a nice player count, 5 players. You're involved the entire 30-minute playing time. But Tony, like you did say, we're all randomly setting up the board. So if just randomly the scoring cards come up that really benefits somebody, there's not much you can do about it except reset and play again and hope you get lucky the next time.
5-minute initiative is complete.
All right, Jeremy. That was his name, wasn't it, in the Wayback Machine? Jeremy and Mr. Peabody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, Jeremy, let's get in the Wayback Machine, and we're going to go back to April 25th, 2017, when Rolling Dice and Taking Names, episode number 117 was released. And we talked about a game called Ethnos, and I'm on our page right now. And this is back when I would actually write the blog and include pictures and things like that, and really put a lot of effort into that. Well, yeah, we don't do that crap anymore.
Well, we've done over 200 episodes since then, and we've gotten lazy over the past 8 years.
Yeah, we have. So 2017, Ethnos came out from CMON, and this is a game by one of our favorite designers, Paulo Mori.
Which is probably one of the first games we ever played from him.
Yes, love his games. And Ethnos, your goal is world domination. No, it's not. You're not trying to take over the world. You're just trying to have the majority in various lands in version 1. But we are playing the second edition, which comes out this year, where they have rethemed the cards, changed the world in its layout, but it's still the same amount, still the same amount of factions, where on a player's turn, he's got 2 actions. He's going to be able to take a card from the market, or he will be allowed to play cards from his hand. And when he does, he will choose a leader, and that leader tells him where to put one of his discs, and then he will discard the rest of his hand. The game is that simple to teach. There's still some nuances with the leaders and some of the actions that you can take depending on the leader. And in order to add to your disc in a land, you must have cards greater than the number of discs you have in the lands. And at the end of an age, we will then score based on who has majority in each of the 6 lands. At the end of either, depending on the number of players, you're at second age or third age. By the way, the game goes up to 6 players, which is a huge plus for this game.
And it moves quick. So going from 4 to 6 players isn't a huge time increase at all.
Yeah. Person with the most victory points wins. I did not see anything drastically different between this version and the previous version.
As far as the rules.
As far as the rules go.
As far as the rules. So for those who didn't listen to episode 100, we love this game. This is a great game. It's set collecting of we either, like colors or like suits. I'm air quoting suits or types of cards. You bundle those together, you get a special ability on top. It's just, what's my strategy here, Joe? I'm going to try to get a bunch of these types of things. And each of the factions do different things. One allows you to place one of your piece on any area of the board. One allows you to basically take an extra turn. And these are the same copycat of the factions back then. One allows you it's one less card is needed for your stack. It's like just one extra card in this stack, etc. Some of them allow you to score points at the end. Did you also mention at the end of the round?
No, I did not mention that. That's another way to score.
Yeah, at the end of the round, depending on the number of players, typically with full players playing 3 rounds. At the end of each round, you're going to look at the sets that you've collected, and based on the size of your set, you're going to get points awarded there too. And then you'll kind of reshuffle and do it again. But I had the really tense things right, Tony, because you had the dragon in the second half of the deck, 3 dragon cards, and the round ended as soon as that third dragon card was drawn. So it creates this tension of like, oh crap, there's been 2 dragon cards already. I really need this other card to complete this set. And if I do, I'm going to do, there's the third dragon. Never mind, the round's over.
I love that. Love that, because I like that tension, even though it sometimes will bite you in the butt. So how often do you want to push your luck? And I also like the tension that the game built with developing the strategies around the lands, because the lands are assigned numerical value, victory points, randomly at the beginning of the game, and they are set up so that they are in ascending order over ages. And then, like in the second age, is whoever has the most will get the most points, but whoever comes in second will get the victory points from the first stage as well. And then if there's ever ties, they're divided by 2, unless there happens to be a special clan out there that gives you the victory points because you have the tiebreaker rule.
Yeah.
Just everything about the game. I know we're gushing on about it. It's just that good, and we are so happy to see it being republished because, it disappeared. 2017, the game was out of print. It didn't have a great following is what I was told by one publisher, because the artwork was kind of bland. The world was kind of bland. The pastel colors just didn't grab people. People weren't drawn to it, but they should have been.
Which I don't get, because art is objective, but I like the art of the original cards. It was fantasy themed. So you had like winged folk, orc, minotaur, merfolk, halfling, giants, that sort of deal. So it looked like almost like old RPG art that you would see in a book. So that stuff never bothered me. Yeah, the map was kind of bland because each area of the map just had a colored border representing the particular territory. So maybe that was kind of blah. But what I never understood was like the game is so good. I don't know how people couldn't overlook that and just enjoy the game for what it was. My gosh, have you seen 18xx games? Look how popular those are, comparatively. So we loved this game in 2017. We gushed about it. Anybody that we play with enjoyed it. Now, remember a couple years ago, Tony, we heard a new version was coming out. It was like a remake called Archaeos Society. So we were super excited about that. It's like, oh, cool, here it comes. The gameplay was somewhat the same with the cards, but it was no longer an area control game or area majority game. It was like a race on these victory point tracks, which didn't have the same feel at all. And we reviewed it. We did not care for it, and it's kind of disappeared. The second edition fully restores it back to the area majority game, which is where this game shined. So I'm glad that it's here.
Yeah. And one of the things is when you really enjoy a game and the second edition comes out, you are going to be more critical of it. Does it have what you remember? Does it give you that same feelings, those same experiences that you had from the original? I mean, I've over time, and I haven't tracked it, but I continue to play Ethnos year after year after year. It's
really
so good. Yeah. One, it's one of the few games I have in my collection that can go up to 6. It's a fast teach. It's easy for me to relearn when I pull it down. Easy setup, and that's a plus, right? That's what you're looking for. Hey, y'all want to play a game? Yeah. How many people got? 6. Well, let's play this one. Straightforward. Everybody's, in the gaming community, everybody's played Ticket to Ride. You understand set collection. Oh, remember, in this one, though, you're limited to 10 in your hand. So one of the big strategies is if someone's sitting there collecting cards, you're sitting there counting his cards thinking, or her cards over there, and you're saying, hey, this next one, they're going to either have to play something or they're going to be discarding a lot of cards here. And I hope they're discarding a lot of cards. All that strategy is part of the game.
Yeah. And that's another one of those really cool rules. The fact that when I play, I got to discard all these cards from my hand. And it's like, so you don't want to be stuck with a huge hand. It's like, sometimes you just got to decide, I've got to play what I've got because I just can't afford to take any more cards in my hand, knowing I'm just going to throw those right back to the market. Because I know Tony's been looking for this particular color or this particular faction, and I've got one of these in my hand, and I know he'll take it immediately if I do so. So all of that comes into play. And again, the gameplay is so straightforward that these decisions you have to make are what's so intriguing about it, not the rule set. The rule set creates these really cool decisions that you have to make during the game, and it plays fast.
Oh, yeah.
Every time we play it, it plays super quick. Like, again, you're talking with more than 3 players. You're talking 3 ages, and it's literally just shuffling up a deck and just going again. And people know exactly what they're going for. I also like the fact, too, that because the regions score differently every single game, there's some regions that are hot, right? It's like, ooh, that's got the 12-pointer in it. Everybody's going to be rushing that. But you sit there and think, well, while they're rushing for the 12, maybe I should go over here and grab a couple 8s. Which may have a lot less fighting happening in those for those majorities. And I'll just try to grab those instead of worrying about the big pointers.
All right. Or you're sitting there with your hand management and you're just happen to be getting all those. And we're going to use Ethnos Series 1 orcs in your hand. And you're like, okay, man, I've got 3 or 4 orcs here. It seems like such a waste because all I'm going to do is put down 1 or 2 discs. But man, at the end of that round, those 4 orcs are going to be worth a lot of points. So why would I not try to get that 5th one? Why would I not, if it's that early in the game? So all these decisions are very important to it. So between version 2 and version 1, they play very similar. The rules are the same. The difference is in the clans, what they're called.
There is an extra clan that was added in this. There's a solo rules now in this. Right. And there's a variant that we kind of like too, in that if the market ever has less than 3 cards, add a card to get up to 3. Because in the first edition, we did find there were times when the market was empty. It was just a luck of the draw at the top of the deck.
We did not like it. You like that method, that variant.
I did.
I don't like that method.
Okay.
I prefer the luck of the draw. I don't need all. Yeah. So, and also the halflings were missing, which was in version 1. So they didn't really bring that race or that power back. I don't remember. I didn't see it.
What was the halfling?
Halfling, there was like twice the number.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But all in all, Ethnos 1 and Ethnos 2 are very, very much similar in play style and had the same stuff that we enjoyed. However.
Here comes the however. You or me.
Go ahead. I tell you what, this is, once again, art is subjective. Yes. But being able to figure out what the heck it means is not.
I agree. So let's just talk about the art of the cards. People didn't like the first edition because they thought the art was kind of bland. What they've done now is everything's an animal. So the clans, instead of being fantasy things, they're just animals. Raccoons, tigers, foxes. And so they're all what's it called?
Yeah, you throw this word out all the time.
Mm-hmm. Anthropomorphic, that's the word. Anthropomorphic, which is kind of funny, exactly like Palomore did with Libertalia, going from pirates in his first edition to his second edition was anthropomorphic characters. The same thing has been done here. Okay, that's fine. It's a art style, whether you like or not. I would prefer something that's not like that. That's not the issue, Tony. The issue is that every race is represented in every color of card.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing has happened here, but what's different is that each raccoon looks different on different color cards. And you think, oh, cool, that's a variety of art. Yes, but now you just can't quickly look and realize, oh, that's the raccoon instead of something else. I almost prefer that the art for a faction to be the same across every color instead of different.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest with you. It's not going to matter. I'm not going to look for the art. Yes, it's pretty. It's nice. Great. I appreciate the effort behind that. But when I'm playing this game, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for quick visual cues that allow me to quickly identify what I have in my hand. Because guess what? When I'm fanning my cards, I'm only going to be looking for names. And so the artwork is lost. So I don't need that. Or when it's out in the marketplace, I can quickly identify, oh, wait, there are 3 of the skeletons out there from Ethnos 1 because I can quickly see they're all the same. Right?
Well, that's what I meant. No, that's what I meant. It is, but with the art being the same, I could quickly see that, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
the
what I agree.
merfolk look all the same. Merfolk. I don't have to look at the little symbol for merfolk to know that was merfolk. I could just recognize it from the art immediately. You can't do that really here.
Then the main reason why is some of the animals they picked and the symbols they chose on the card are very close to one another. Panda bear and the tiger and the foxes, they, believe it or not, they all have fur, they all have ears, they all have snouts, they all look the freaking same to me. I'm sorry.
And in the upper left-hand corner, they do have a symbol for the animal, but the problem is some of those symbols look very similar. I'm looking at 2 of them right now. The raccoon and the fox are extremely similar that when you're doing a quick glance at the table, you may think it's one, but it's the other.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game, I drafted the wrong one. And so it's like, okay, well, there's also a background color in the symbol for each faction that is consistent. So all the pandas are green, all the foxes are yellow. The problem is there's like multiple colors of yellow used in this. Mm-hmm. The lion has a goldish yellow, and the fox has a lighter yellow. And so if I'm looking for colors, I'm like, which one is that? You just can't quickly distinguish what it is.
Yeah. And we know these are nits, but we also are remembering Ethnos 1 and how we were able to quickly deal with this. Now, all right, that's just the animals. I want to move on. Yeah, they were two, unless you have something else to say here, they're too similar in what they picked. The symbols are too close together. The colors aren't that easy to distinguish.
Okay.
The other big thing about Ethnos is that when you're playing a leader, you are putting the leader's color dictates which land you go to.
Yes.
These lands, and I don't know how to say this very well, but the lands on the card in the old version, it was pretty straightforward. It was blue. You could tell that was, when you played that leader, that was a blue land that you were going to, right?
Because the entire card was blue except for the art in the middle. Yes.
Right. Here, I'm playing to the green area or to the sand area. It's this banner on the right. On the left. And they were very similar to me, and they probably aren't. But when I was playing with it, I got confused as to which area because the colors didn't seem to match very good.
There are two colors that are, one's kind of a yellowish, one's kind of a reddish, and then they have a design kind of woven into them to where, yes, I would pick up one that was the sand area thinking it was like the fire mountain area because it's red, and it's only that far left border that denotes which area it is. And then when you look at the board, it doesn't exactly match the color on the board. The color on the desert card doesn't exactly match the desert area. The map is gorgeous. On this new board. It's gorgeous because they use all these different colors, but it's because they use all these different colors in an area. Like the desert's not just yellow. It's different colors of yellow to make it look really nice, to where it's like, wait a minute, is that the yellow card or is it this card over here? The center area, which is kind of like the grayish area, how long do we sit there and decide, is that card for this area? Right. It took us a while to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. I was ready to get a Sharpie out.
Now, once we did, we got it, but why shouldn't it have taken us that long to figure it out? That sort of deal.
I still have problems in our other game. I still have problems picking that out between the cloud card and the desert card. Is this the cloud card or the? And I'll admit the lighting's not the best in Qdoba.
No,
but still, I shouldn't have that kind of difficulty. And yes, all right. So I'm going to end it there for me, and I'll let you continue.
Well, just let me say that comparing to the first game, the map, they said, was boring. I get it. But here's the thing is, each territory, the map, had bold color around the area. This is the blue area. This is the green area. This is the orange area, that sort of deal. You could easily see it. And there was a name in the area. In the first edition cards, the top of the card had the name of the area. So you could see the name on your card and see it on the board. There is no names of areas in this game.
I did not realize that.
Yep.
I will say this, after all this on my side, and then I'll let Marty go on.
There's one more about the cards.
Well, what is
Symbols, and not words.
I'll admit it took a little bit, but I was lucky. I played Ethnos 1 before I came that night, so it was pretty straightforward for me, and I was able to figure them out. But you're absolutely right. The symbols aren't that clear.
On Ethnos 1, the function of the cards is written directly on the cards. For example, the wing folk, you can place your marker on any kingdom of the board, written directly on the card, no reference needed. The cards here have symbols to remind you of what the card does, and you have a player reference card. So yes, sure, after you play the game a few times, you start recognizing what the symbols do, but the learning curve to get to that point is a pain in the butt. The fact that you need to have this one card over here to reference over here, and the first time you play this game, you're going to look a bit back and forth between the two, as opposed to written directly on the card. Now, I get it, why they did it. These cards can be used in any language, right? Just a player reference card is the only thing that you need to print in a different language. All these cards are the same. I understand why they do it, but it's not as easy. So it all comes down to this for me, Tony. Every single thing about the design of the card in the first edition, as far as playability and recognizing what it is, trumps everything in the second edition. ignore the art. Meaning, I like this art better than that art. I'm not talking about the art. If you like the second edition art, that's fine. I'm talking about the functionality of the card in first edition is better than second edition.
I definitely will not disagree with you, because that will slow down the teach. That will slow down people who are playing, because they'll always be referencing, well, what does this mean?
People are like, why are you so passionate and just talking about this so much? We loved Ethnos so much, and I was so excited to start teaching new people this, and then I realized, crap, this is going to be a harder teach than the first edition.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, if I'm talking to somebody out there and it's like, should I get Ethnos? Do you have Ethnos first edition? No, sir, Marty, I don't. Get Ethnos second edition. You'll love it. The gameplay is amazing. You should get it. I think it's one of those that should be on everybody's shelf because it's so much fun. The card play, the area majority, fantastic game. Okay, Marty, I have first edition. I would recommend you just play with the first edition, but go look for yourself. Go see if these cards, if you think they're fine the way they are, if you like that, then go with the second edition. But I will be pulling the first edition off the shelf. Marty, I've got Arceus Society, and that's the only thing I got. Well, then you definitely got to go get the second edition because they're not even comparable. It's a totally different game.
I completely agree there. If you were to say, hey, rolling dice taking names, would you, like you just said, would you pick up second edition regardless of all the nits that you just put? Yes, you have to. It is such a good game if you like set collection and area majority. It's that good of a game. They are going to have your player aids ready to help people with the various iconographies. Make sure people understand where they are. That will help you through it. But yes, overall, regardless of what we just said here in the last 45 minutes of talking about it, I don't know how long we've been talking about it, but it is one of those games that needs to be on your shelf. First edition is gone. Get this second edition.
I will say one of the upgrades I did really like is the markers that you use to stack.
Those are
to
nice.
show it whether you have control or not is better than the first edition. The pagodas I found stacked easier. You didn't accidentally knock them over. The plastic pieces you stacked in first edition wouldn't stack very well. They get knocked over. That upgrade is definitely better in the second edition.
Oh, yeah.
The only issue really comes down to me is just the functionality of the cards in the second edition, and that's really it. And honestly, once you probably play a handful of times, you'll forget all this. Now, I will say this because somebody brought it up. It wasn't an issue for me. I'm left-handed. Everything is denoted on the left-hand side of the card. I've had left-handers tell me, Marty, I fan my cards from the other side. This isn't going to help you at all because the right side of the card contains zero information because there's nothing about the color of the area that's going to go to, nor the faction. So if you fan as a left-hander from basically right to left, and only see the right side of the card, it's not going to do you any good. It has to be on the other. And the first edition cards took care of it because anything that was on the left-hand side was on the right-hand side. So it didn't matter.
And actually, it was all color then. You know,
it was. I'm talking about the symbol for who it was too is also on that side. So there you go. I know that was a long rant.
We haven't done that in a while.
We haven't done that in a while, but it's one of those interesting things, right? We love the game. It's just I'm kind of disappointed in the design of the cards itself.
Yes, completely agree with you there.
That is Ethnos second edition. I do think this is going to be a really big game when it becomes available everywhere because I think the first one was so hot. And people really may dig this next edition. And again, I give you my opinions. If you already have the first, I would just go look at the second, see how it looks. And if you think it looks better, prefer that one, get the new faction in it, which is kind of nice too, then go grab that one. If not, just stick with the first edition and you'll enjoy it just as much. The Game Topper system is not just a game table. It's the most versatile system on the market where you can add an accessory rail to make half of your topper a mini topper. You can add an extension leaf to extend the table. You have a full leg system to convert the topper to a full table. There's the Sherlock portable coffee table / children's table. You can have a dining cover for your topper. And you have amazing accessories such as an accessory bank, collapsible cup holders, and let's not forget about those game mats. These are high quality premium made with high fidelity printing from top board game artists and 32 different thematic styles. The late pledge manager is going to be open through February and there's still special deals over at shop.gametoppersllc.com.
Five-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1.
The Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game by Brian Bornmuller from publisher Office Dog is a Lord of the Rings themed game similar to Crew. Marty just said something about Candy Crush with the game we were talking about recently. Well, here you go. Here you've got a Lord of the Rings themed game similar to Crew where you're working as cooperatively to be able to complete your objectives as one of the hobbits, or who knows who else is in this, because we don't want to spoil things for you, because it's not a legacy game, is it, Marty? But it is a cooperative
campaign.
That's the word.
It's a cooperative campaign game, much like the Crew is. And in this, there are 18 different chapters that you're going to play through, much like the Crew, where you're trying to play this through the scenarios. It starts out really easy and gets more difficult over time. But in this, you're actually trying to play through the story of the Fellowship of the Ring, but you're playing in trick-taking faction. Now, what I like about this, Tony, is the chapter will tell you, here are the characters that you're going to use during this game. Each of you will get one of those characters. The characters will have some goal. Each of you must achieve the goal by the end of the game in order to win. If not, you need to try it again. Mm-hmm. And it's really that straightforward. It's just that as the game goes on, the characters that you pick from get more complicated. We can spoil some of this. For example, Frodo's in there. The goal of Frodo is he needs to collect 4 rings when you're playing this trick-taking game. Now, this is your standard trick-taking game, right? There in this, there are 5 different suits: hills, mountains, forests, and shadows, and rings. The hills range values 1 to 8. The ring is 1 to 5. Somebody leads with the hill. You need to follow with the hill. Whoever has the highest hill at the end is going to win that trick.
Unlike the Crew, though, where the Crew has the Crew that I remember has the rocket ships, those were always Trump. In this game, Trump is only the one ring, right? The one, number 1.
The ring that has the value of 1.
1
yes.
on it. Not the rings that are 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. That is the Trump. There's only one. The rest of the rings, they're for the men, they're for the dwarves, they're for the elves. They're useless. But the one ring is important. But Frodo must collect, like you said, the 4 rings in the very first chapter that we played, the intro chapter. Hey, get used to the game. But if you've played the Crew, if you've played trick-taking games, you understand how this works. And the strategy, of course, is setting it up so everybody can succeed as their character, which is definitely challenging based on the cards, how they are dealt to you. Some characters allow the exchanging of cards, some don't. And then there's another added adventure. You have the ring wraiths chasing you. They're a threat.
Those are threats. And again, depending on the character you get, will deal with that threat card. For example, it could be, there's a very early chapter. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, in that you draw a threat card. You need to win with the value of card that's that threat card. That sort of deal. So the other beginning characters in the first chapter, Bilbo, you got to win 3 or more tricks. Gandalf, you have to win 1 or more tricks. And the chapters will say, these characters must be selected, but if you have more players than the number of characters needed, other people can play other characters. But the requirement is there's certain ones that have to be picked. There are short versions of the game and longer chapters. Short is these characters must succeed and finish in a round. The longer chapters says that every character must succeed, and if you get to the end of a game and not every character's been completed, you reshuffle and go again.
Right. Now, as with the Crew, this game, if you get through all the chapters, is there replayability to it? Of course there is. You can't always win, but there will be definite strategies that will come out just like you did. Now, of the Crew and of this game, I like this one a little bit more because, first off, it's Lord of the Rings. Second, I like how the cards are dictating what you're doing. The characters are dictating what you need to do and not some paragraph in a book. For some odd reason, I found that easier to follow than to constantly going back to the book. I like the fact that there's only one trump. I like that when there's games that you don't always have the ability to quickly trump stuff. So for me, I really enjoyed this game. I can't wait for us to play it more to see if we can make it through all the chapters. It's also one of those games I think that I would put on my shelves, and not one that you have one copy and then we share it. This is one that I would like to just have there because I really did enjoy the artwork, how it was presented, and the various strategies that come into play without having that constant trump.
Yeah, I'm going to agree to everything you just said. I love that as the chapters went on, the characters that were unlocked you had to use had a little bit harder requirements in order to win the game. That's where the complexity came in. And as you go through the chapters, there are additional cards that may be added to the deck. There are additional characters that may be added to the deck. You may need to use previous characters, etc. But what's nice is once you've done through all 18 chapters, you can reset everything and do it again. The cards are numbered in such a way that you can reset the entire game and play through it again with somebody else, much like you can the crew. One thing I really love, Tony, is the art. I think the art in this game is top notch. It very much has a Lord of the Rings feel to it. And that just really stuck out to me. And it's really nice. You have these nice wooden tokens that you have in the game. It's a little small box for storing everything. It looks really good. So the graphic design and the art is also top notch in this.
If you can find this when it comes available, put it on pre-order. I think you should add this one, especially if you've enjoyed the crew.
I totally agree. And with the way it's named, Tony, the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game makes me wonder if this does really well. Will there be a Two Towers version and then a Return of the King? I mean, there's got to be probably what's in their mind.
Or The Hobbit. Can always have The Hobbit.
100%. So that's why I feel like maybe there could be more to this game than what we're seeing. So yes, starting out 2025, this is definitely a top game that I think is going to last quite a while, much like the crew. This is the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, trick-taking game. Keep an eye out on it, because when it becomes available, I think it's going to be really hot.
5-minute initiative is complete.
Back in 2019, when Tony and I were at Gen Con, we sat down with designer Emerson Matsushi, who is a designer for some games we really like, such as Century and some of those line of games. We talked about Halloween that came out last year. Well, he was excited to show us a prototype of a game he was working on, Metal Gear Solid. This was a game that was going to be published by IDW, and he said he was a huge fan of this video game series. This was like a passion project for him. We got to play a little bit of it, thought it was really cool, but then it kind of disappeared because IDW ended up not publishing it. Well, Simon picked up the game and just recently released it, and I got a chance to play it. And I'm excited to have a special guest on the show, my son Brett, who sat down and played the game with me. And the reason is, Brett, what is your relationship with the video game series Metal Gear Solid?
I would say Metal Gear Solid used to be my favorite video game franchise, and it still is very important to me. I think it is one of the best video game franchises of all time. Metal Gear Solid 3 in particular is my favorite game of all time. Each entry is worthy of its own respect. It's just a really incredible achievement and like a good reason as to why video games are art and why they are worth something in today's time.
And who's the director?
Hideo Kojima.
Hideo Kojima, who you are a big fan of.
Yep, I'm a Kojima fan.
Going back to a few years back playing Death Stranding.
Yep, played it day one. I have the big edition with the baby.
This game is based off the very first Metal Gear Solid. It is a cooperative game where you're trying to basically play through the story of Metal Gear Solid, and there's 18 different chapters. And the chapters are broken up into two different types. There's stealth scenarios and there's boss scenarios. And I went through and played the first couple scenarios myself, were kind of like teaching scenarios that are meant to be played solo, but then after that, you can bring in other players. Now, you can play the first scenarios with somebody else. Snake is the only one on the board, and Snake is the main character in the game. You could take turns controlling Snake, but as the other scenarios come into play, more characters introduced, which allows you to bring more players into the game. So when you heard about the board game, I said, I want you to try it with me. What were you wanting or basically needing this board game to have in it to make you feel like it was a good representation of the video game itself?
It would need to have the proper atmosphere and knowledge of Metal Gear Solid 1. It needed to really nail the kind of isolation that first game had on just the setting in Alaska on that forgotten military base, Shadow Moses. It needed to have plenty of gadgets, and I think it needed to have a wide variety of ways to tackle a problem.
Metal Gear Solid is known for being a stealth type game.
Yes.
Right? I mean, in the video game series, you can attack people if you want, but is it typically best to not do that?
Or at least make sure you do it in a quiet way.
There you go. That's what Emerson is somewhat done here in this game. So each person plays a character, and on their turn, they're going to have 4 action points that they can spend on their turn. Every character has a player card that you're going to have in front of you, and you can spend action points to do things like walk, dash. You can do some hand-to-hand combat. As you get equipment, they'll have additional actions. For example, you may get a gun, and you can spend action on that in order to shoot the gun. You can do like sneak attacks. If you're behind somebody, do basically a silent takedown, which is very common in the game, walking up behind somebody and doing a takedown. And all this is resolved, especially the attacks, is done through dice. So you're going to roll a die, you're going to compare it against the defense of the character that you're attacking, and in sneaking missions is typically guards. And if you exceed on that, you could basically take them down, knock them out, or basically kill them. And when you knock them out, their body is left there lying on the ground. But then you say, well, you want to make sure that nobody else sees that body lying there. So one of the actions you can do is actually drag the body into another spot, because after you've taken your turn, the guards on the board are going to act, and they're actually going to start moving around the board.
It does bring an aspect of the game of like adaptability. You kind of have to play off the seat of your pants some of the times, because you just don't anticipate a guard to move some way, or you just took a little bit too long to like drag a body. So it does incorporate that aspect of the video games into the board game space pretty well.
On the guard's turn, you're going to flip over a card and you're going to walk through the steps that the cards are going to do. Most of the time, you're going to start at the top of the board and go from left to right and activate a guard. And depending on what's going on at the time, for example, if they're just patrolling, they're going to move a certain number of spaces. If they hit a wall, the card says, well, they'll turn left or turn right. And if at any point in time they see something funny, they basically go into alert mode. Or if the players have done anything to bring attention to themselves, then they're automatically in alert mode. So let's say, for example, that body that you wanted to drag, you didn't. If that body gets in line of sight of one of these guards, he's going to go investigate that. And when he does and notice something wrong, he could generate an alert and alert the other guards. But what's interesting is because the NPCs or the guards are going to react to the state of the board, sometimes you may want a guard to move to a certain location. So one of the acts you have is called knock. You can actually spend an action token to knock and put a token on the board that will alert the guards. And that's when you'll hear this common sound. And at that point, all guards know that something's going on. And during the guard's movement, they automatically move towards that area, allowing you as the player to possibly sneak around and get around them.
And that's another aspect of the game, of kind of like that guard manipulation, almost allowing yourself to kind of be spotted where you want to be spotted, because you know the guards are going to move predictably in that way, and then you go around them, right? That's very much an aspect of the game, and I think it's portrayed well here.
Let's talk about the maps themselves. So each scenario is made up basically a grid. You have these tiles that are broken down to a large grid, and the scenario tells you how to set up the map. So each of the map represents a certain spot in the video game. During the setup, it'll tell you certain characters go here, the guards start here. Some of the maps have cameras. If you're ever in line of sight of a camera, that also immediately notifies the guards something's going on. They're going to head that way too. During the guard's turn, one of the things on the guard card is that the camera may change. It may look down a row, and then it may flip and then look down a column. So you don't know when it's going to flip, but sometimes you have to wait for it to go to a certain area, so you might want to sneak around and stuff. So a lot of the stealth mechanics are built into the game itself, with each scenario having some sort of objective. Hey, I need to get from point A to point B. I need to go pick this up. I need to go to the elevator, go down, do this, depending on the scenario that you're playing at the time. So it gives you an objective. And if at any point during the round, if you die, lose all your life, it ends. Or if you go through the entire guard deck, you'll also fail the mission. And I like that. So that means there's a built-in clock. It won't last forever, sort of deal.
And that sort of mission setup is actually a little different than the game. The game doesn't have chapters or missions. It's kind of just one long, unbroken set piece. So I'm sure it was kind of difficult for a level designer for the board game to kind of come up with like, okay, where do we stop this part of the game and start this next one? But I think they did a good job overall.
I didn't realize that. So it's not broken up into...
Nope, no missions.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize. Have all of them in the series been that way?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
And also, as you're playing through the missions, there might be objectives on the board that you can go and investigate. And if you do at the end of the mission, it'll say, hey, congratulations, you found this equipment. So this is where the equipment comes in. There's a huge deck of cards of a lot of equipment that you can earn over the course of the game. And they give you a tuck box in order to store the equipment in. At the beginning of the scenario, you can go through and pick the equipment you want to use. And you thumb through some of the equipment, and it looks like a lot of the standard equipment that you'd actually find in the video game. Guns, bombs, etc.
Yep, upgrades to other items. In the game itself, you do find a silencer for your SOCOM pistol, which is in this game as well. And I think the equipment mechanic in general is one of the better kind of meta game progressions they have going on, where you unlock an equipment, and then you can kind of pick your loadout before your mission. Certain characters can only hold so many items, like Snake can only hold 3 items, so you kind of have to pick maybe what would be the best loadout for this mission, and then that adds replay value as well.
While you do have the regular campaign, there is a book called VR Missions. Now, these are missions that are standalone. You can just set up and go through and play them, but they also state that depending on how well you do in the mission, you might unlock equipment that you could then use in the campaign. So they're almost like optional side quests, but if you do them, you get bonus equipment.
That's cool.
Also, this has the classic codices.
Codex, yep.
Codex.
Codec calls.
Yep. So the classic pulling up was...
I don't know what it is.
What
they
is
don't
he?
really... He has like nano machines in his ear that he talks to him through. So it's not like a audio visual interface. Speaking
of conversations, actually during the campaign, it has the classic conversations with Snake and other characters in the game. And that goes on, that dialogue is actually in the campaign itself.
There's like a dramatization in the rule book as to like what's going on. One thing I really liked is we did a boss mission. We actually just finished one and we were playing against Ocelot. And immediately when you saw the board, you knew exactly what boss it was going to be because you were very familiar with the game. What's cool about this is there's no guards in the boss mission. Instead, the boss has a card that has special abilities on it, but there's a boss deck. And the boss deck may be, for example, Ocelot was only like 5 cards. Players will take their turns trying to meet the objective, and in this case, it was deal 20 damage to Ocelot. On the boss's turn, he flips over the top card of his deck and does something. It could be move, it could be attack in certain areas, then it goes to the bottom of the deck. So that means that over the course of several turns, you're going to know what the boss is going to be doing. So that mimics the whole, okay, I need to watch and see the movements of the boss because he's just going to repeat them over and over, and you can kind of learn how the boss is going to act during the game. It does replicate kind of that boss AI that's found in games pretty well. It is cool to like, okay, he did this move, and now I know this next action's coming up. Yeah. After going one time through the deck, we knew, okay, we know this next card says he's going to attack these particular spaces, so we got to make sure not end our turn in those spaces to not get attacked. So I like that kind of how learning it. And because the deck can change every time, it's not like you're going to learn it and always know it. Because you don't use all the cards for the boss deck. It's only a certain number. So every time you put that boss deck together, it's going to play differently. I'm not going to spoil anything else that's in here. Again, I said it's 18 chapters long. The production on it's really nice. The models are nice on it. There's a lot of the boards that make up the map. There is an insane amount of different types of tokens, y'all. There's guard tokens and KO tokens and missiles and claymores and time bombs and C4 and ammo. So there's a lot of things to punch and sort to keep up with. But again, they're just trying to really mimic that. And they got the classic cardboard box. Yep. The classic snake hiding under a cardboard box sort of deal. So the production is really well done. I'm always weary of when somebody comes out with a board game version of a video game because it doesn't do it justice. And while you can never exactly mimic it
or get it down to exactly like the video game, do you feel it somewhat capture at least the spirit of the game?
I definitely do think it captures some of it. With like the line of sight, like the guards can only see in front of them. For me personally, it's the speed of play. Metal Gear Solid 1 is a pretty fast game. Things happen quickly, and I think this game captures that as well. Things happen very quickly. Turns are decisive, or at least they move fast.
We did add some atmosphere to the game. You got a set of Metal Gear Solid vinyl collection over Christmas, so we spun those records as we were down there playing the game, which was really cool. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how well this does when they come out with, the other future versions of the game. So if you like Metal Gear Solid and you want a board game representation of the game, it's here. Emerson does a great job. He's a great designer. Like I said, this was very much a passion project of his, and he put a lot of time and heart into it. So I'm glad it came to the light of day, because I was worried it was lost after IDW didn't publish it. So to finish this out, I know you mentioned Metal Gear Solid 3 is your favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
Are you somewhat pumped for the remake that's coming?
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen the remake, and it looks like a good job because it just looks like the same game, but just looks better.
What? And when is the release date for that? Do we know?
It's going to try to be for 2025. We'll see.
We'll see. So I'm sure that'll be a day one purchase for you.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, y'all. Metal Gear Solid from CMON Games. If you're interested, go out, see some pictures of it, check it out, and maybe try it out for yourself.
Hey there, I'm Hugh from Podderation, and if you like today's show, why not check out Roll for Riz, a podcast as ridiculous and cheesy as its title implies. You might have heard of Isekai. You might have heard of Reverse Isekai. But have you heard of D&D Reverse Isekai, where an adventuring party finds themselves in modern-day Japan with their powers completely and utterly intact? It sounds ridiculous, right? But it sounds like you want to listen to it, right? Find Roll for Riz wherever you can get your podcasts.
5-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1.
All right, recently Miniature Market had a really good deal over the holidays where you would get $5.99 shipping if you hit the $75 threshold. And I had a game. I had Risk AD 2210 in my basket. Marty had War of the Ring. He wanted the expansion, and I was $10 short of getting that special $75 mark. And over in our Discord channel, someone said, "Hey, have y'all heard of the card game, Prey, P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y. It's from All Play, and it's a little trick-taking game, and you guys talk about Opasha and a game like that. This is what's very similar." And I said, "Sure, let's spend $10 and get a flyer." And I am so happy I did, Marty.
Dude, I haven't been this obsessed with the little card game in quite a while. You and I have played many, many trick-taking games, right? Like everybody's coming out of the woodworks with all these trick-taking games. But the thing is, though, so many of them are gotten so gimmicky. It's like it's a trick-taking game, but it does this, this, and this, and this. But this just adds two little things to a simple, rules-wise trick-taking game. There's nothing flowery about it. I mean, literally, you lead with the suit, you follow the suit, the highest number gets that suit. That's straightforward. But there's two things in this that it just turns it on its ear, that it just makes it that I love it so much.
Yeah. The first thing is, at the start of the game, after our 12 cards have been dealt, you roll 2 dice. Why are you rolling dice in a card game? Because they tell you how many tricks that you need to take. So let's say you roll a 5 and a 4. You're not trying to take 9. You either take 5 or 4. If you roll a 6, you can take a 6, a 0, and whatever the other dice. So that sets how many tricks you're playing to. So you don't have to sit there and wait on people to bid and things like that. Love it. Speeds up things dramatically, takes all that decision, but that's where the thinking comes in, because you're looking at your cards and you're like, how am I going to get all those tricks? You play 6 tricks trying to get your match, but what happens after the 6th trick, Marty?
Well, Tony, these cards aren't regular cards in that all these cards have 2 values on them, and typically one is high, one is low. You arrange cards a certain way, so there's one value at the top. After 6 cards have been played, you rotate all the cards 180 degrees to the other value. So what you realize is the first half of the game, I have these numbers to play with, And in the second half, I have these other numbers to play with. So lots of times in the game, you're trying to say, okay, well, I need to get rid of this low number card and save this card over here because I want to flip it over to a high value card because I need to have that high value card to potentially win the rest of my tricks in the second half of the round. Those two things right there, the dice roll and the dual value cards, is what turned this game into something that I just freaking loved. And you just need to have it in your bag for every week because I want to play it all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's there. I've played it with y'all on game night. Now, here's the thing. You've got to play Prey with 3 or 4 players. You cannot play it with 2. Makes perfect sense. But I've played it with you. I've played it with our old Pashaw friends. And I've played it with everyone over Christmas. And they all just loved it. It was great. And what's great is if you make your bid twice, then you win the game. There's not this long, drawn-out thing. I've played it 3 or 4 times in one night as people are just sitting there rolling. And it's a great trick-taking game. Love it. Highly recommend it. Go over there and get Prey. Prey.
So let me ask you something. There is one thing that I wonder. How do you feel about the fact that potentially you could have ties? Everybody could get their bids like over the course of 2 rounds and everybody finishes. Do you just consider that a tie or everybody wins, or how was that done?
Yes. Everybody flips over to the card. Exactly.
So just everybody wins together.
Everybody wins.
There's no tiebreaker. Okay.
Yeah, but just like in Old Pashaw where someone always gets set, not everybody is going to get all their bids. It's a tough one. I've yet to see where that's ever been an issue.
Okay. One thing I really do like is, like you said at the very beginning in the onset with the dice, is in Old Pashaw, when you're looking at all your cards, you may spend a couple minutes maybe trying to decide what your bids should be. Maybe a couple minutes is too long. Maybe you spend 30 seconds, 45 seconds trying to decide. Here, there is no decision. You literally roll. That's it. Start playing the game. It's just like, oh my gosh, with the cards that I have, and there's no passing or anything, y'all. It's just that straightforward. Here's the cards I got in my hand. I know that I have basically 2 sets of values that I'm working with. How am I going to take these 12 cards and get the bids that I need? What was cool, we was playing with Mark, and he rolled a 6. Dude shot the moon. Didn't win one trick in all 12 and ended up, pulling that off. So I thought that was really cool too. So, I also love it. Like in some of the games I played, I rolled a low number and then a high number. It's like, which one do I go for? Do I go for the low number of tricks? Or do I have myself an out? I try to go for the low number, and if I don't make it, then change strategies coming into that 6th round when the cards are going to flip, and then try to win the rest of it. All right, I'll shut up about it. You guys know I love it. This game was only $10 at Miniature Market?
I forget. It said $10. Yeah, so it's worth it. Throw it in there. It'll help you make a lemon over at Miniature Market.
Yeah, that's Prey by All Play Games. One of the best new trick-taking games I've played in quite a while.
5-minute initiative is complete.
Head over to miniaturemarket.com. All the special deals are over. However, if you are on the email list, you were notified of a huge game clearance. Maybe you got a little extra money in that stocking over Christmas. Maybe you didn't get that game you wanted. Well, head over to miniaturemarket.com. They've got it for you. Restocking those shelves, getting it ready for the 2025 season. Check it out. Be sure to head over to miniaturemarket.com.
Went to a Star Wars Unlimited tournament day. It was a constructed event.
Yay!
First round, I went 0-2. Second round, I went 0-2. But the third round, Tony, when I was playing the other guy that was 0-2, I went 2-0 for my first win of my first win of a round in a constructed event. And I was so gleefully happy when the owner said, "You won a game, here is your free pack." And I just held it close to my chest. I finally won a free pack.
Which deck did you go with? The one that beat me so bad?
It was that one.
Then how did you lose in the first 2?
Oh my gosh. Okay. A couple things. Some of the guys at this event are prepping for the planetary qualifier at the end of the month up in Durham. So the planetary qualifier, for those who don't know, is basically the winners of those go on to the World Championships in Vegas. So they are building and tweaking and playing a lot of their decks they're going to be using. So the first round guy, it's like, this is the deck I'm going with, and I've spent weeks tweaking and play testing it. So he just rolled me. But also he said, I'll tell you something. He said, I was prepared for your deck. I was prepared for a deck that's meant to run like yours does. And that's why I did so well. And what I love about this environment where I play is he says, can I give you some suggestions? I said, Lord, please. He said, use this leader instead of that leader. Change out this card for this card and this card. And as you play the game, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's going to help a lot. So he gave me ideas to tweak. Mm-hmm. The second game that I played, basically the guy's aggro deck was aggroing faster than what mine did, unfortunately. Okay. The third game was also another aggro deck, but I out-aggroed him that time and was able to take him down. So I went in prepared for control decks and didn't face on one of them. So that's how it goes. Okay. And this is where I need to learn how to use the sideboard. What I should have done is, in my first game, I should have a sideboard, realizing, oh crap, this is the kind of deck that he has. So in between my first and second game, I should have swapped out cards to address the stuff that was in his. He had a lot of restore, so I dumped a lot of damage, and he went heal, 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 heal. The two guys that could heal, I lost to. I couldn't out damage their healing.
What were they? How were they? What colors do you remember? What they were playing? Were they hero? Are they villains? What were they doing? I know that's.
Oh my gosh,
that's okay.
I remember the second deck. Oh, was Captain Rex actually? He's on the heroic side, but the way that he ended up taking me down, I could not believe it. I almost had him out, and he ended up with a bunch of clone troopers, and then he had a card that says, I'm going to give the ability that all my guys have restore this turn. I went, oh, crap. So anytime you attack, he heals 2. And it said, when defeated, create another clone trooper. So he just kept attacking my guys, and they would die, but they would just come right back. Mm-hmm. And he restored 2. So he healed 8 that round and then ended up winning the whole thing. So
gotcha. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you came out of there a little bit more knowledgeable. I mean, I will never be a challenge for you because I don't put the effort into it. But I'm glad you found a group that is playing, that's nearby. That's always that's a plus for a game. That you can find that, like we used to have when we played Netrunner.
Yes. Well, now it's on Sundays. It's really not far down the road from you. It's right off 485.
45 minutes away.
Well, you still should come down sometime. It'd be fun.
I should.
I think you'd.
I should come down. Yeah, I know.
And it is super casual. Like I said, everybody's there to help everybody out. So it's really casual. It's like $5 entry fee, and you're guaranteed a pack.
There you go. Hey, and the next series is coming out soon, so we'll be adding something else in March. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a 2024 game. I was thinking that started in but it came out in Star Wars Unlimited came out in 2024. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we just got to demo it in 2023. But yeah, officially released in 2024.
All right, when this show comes out, Marty and I will be heading down to something called Dice and Diversions that come up weekend. We're very excited about going down to Atlanta and participate in that con again. If you're in the area, be sure to check it out. It's going to be a festive occasion. Because we're there.
That's exactly right. And then the week after, Tantrum Con will be here in Charlotte. We have our typical moon pie eating contest where we play Strike and the winners come up for moon. Why are you rolling your eyes?
I just can't believe anybody signing up for that.
They had a good time last year.
I know.
People enjoyed it.
Yeah, but when you get moon pies.
Everybody gets moon pie. It's just fun. And we have some giveaways there too. It'll be fun too.
Oh, okay. I better go into the old closet and find some giveaways like that.
That's right.
So with that, keep rolling dice.
And taking names. Hey y'all, thanks for listening. Do you have good memories of cafeteria food from school like the pizza? Come over and join our Discord channel. Let us know, because people on our Discord channel tend to talk more about food than they actually do board games. That's RDTN for you. What you breaking up? Oh, just a regular old Diet Pepsi.
Buy 2, get 3 free.
What? Where from? Because it wasn't from Harris. Unless it was Harris Teeter, it was cans. I looked for the bottles. Yeah. The bottles are just $5.99.
Yeah, they don't do the bottles on sale like they do Coke bottles.
Not as much anymore, because that's where I get the bottles for work.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I just like them because I can put a cap on them and just kind of put them to the side.
Yeah.
Just kind of sip on it through the afternoon or whatever.
Yeah, I seldom see the buy two, get two and the Pepsi bottles.
Everything is expensive. Those little, on sale, the little 6-pack of bottles is $5.99. Regularly $8.99.
Life is expensive.
Yes, y'all, this is what we talk about before we start recording our episodes.
That's right.
Hey there, I'm Hugh from Moderation. If you like today's episode, why not check out the next session? Your D&D Agony Aunt's there to answer all of your questions. Join Adam and Alyssa as they answer questions sent in by listeners like you about how to solve the problems that come with running and playing in all sorts of different tabletop scenarios. Available wherever you get your podcast.